All right, welcome everyone. My name is Paige. I am an RD candidate consultant for Lake County Tribal Health, and this is our first cook along, and hopefully the first of many. Before we begin, we're just going to go over a few safety items in the kitchen. You want to make sure that everything in your area of space that you're working in is free and clear. Don't want to be tripping on anything. So that's one of the first things you want to make sure that you're doing. Also, we will be using a cutting board. And if you can see, there are two views on this Zoom. One, it will be actually me preparing, and then one you can actually see me on. So whichever one you can look at, whichever is helpful for you. But to start off with, we have our cutting board that we'll use, and it's important to make sure that the cutting board is nice and stable. So one way to keep it stable is to make sure that there is something under it. You can use a wet paper towel. I have a cloth underneath mine, and that's just going to secure it so it's not moving around. Another thing you're going to want to make sure that you do is have a nice sharp knife so things don't move around as well. Let's make sure that this is. And so first things first, we are going to start with our tomato soup recipe. And if you don't have the ingredients, I will read them off to you now. We're going to start with 1 tablespoon of olive oil. You need half of a yellow onion. You'll need 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, half a teaspoon of paprika, 6.5 pounds of ripe tomatoes, and 1.5 cups of vegetable stock, or you could use other stock, but I personally like to use the vegetable stock. And then pepper and salt to taste, and you can have some fresh basil or parsley to put on top. I'm doing basil today. And the second recipe we're going to do is the baked parmesan zucchini. And for that, you'll need 4 zucchinis. You're going to need half a cup of freshly grated parmesan, half a teaspoon of thyme, half a teaspoon of dried oregano, half a teaspoon of dried basil, and a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley, and salt and pepper to taste. So without any further ado, let's get into the making of the soup. The first thing we're going to want to do is and another thing, wash your hands. I just washed my hands, so we're all set to go. And we're going to start with cutting up the onion. And you have a question? Oh, you're on mute.
So there was no fresh basil when I went to the store, but I got this chopped basil in a jar. Am I still using the same amount?
I would use a little less, and the basil is actually more or less a garnish, so you can actually omit it if you don't want the extra on top of it. So it's mostly just a garnish for that dish. As far as the zucchini, it does also call for some, and it's okay to just use the same amount. It might be a little bit harder to mix it all together, but you'll see that when we get to that point. So first we're going to start with chopping our onion. And as far as the safety with the chopping, you're going to want to make sure that you have your vegetable, fruit, whatever you're cutting, secure on your cutting board. And as you chop, you're going to make sure that you are chopping in a one fluid motion, and then you're almost like rocking as you're cutting. And this is going to help make sure that you are not moving as you cut and preventing any injuries. Also, a little tip that I always do when cooking in the kitchen is I have a little scrap bowl handy, and I just put all my little scraps in the bowl, and it keeps everything neat and easy to work around with. So the next step with cutting the onion is after you cut the tip off, you're going to cut it in half. And this is going to help us with cutting it with that secured flat surface. You can put that other half aside because we're only using half of the onion today. So as you go through cutting the onion, you can cut it first like so. And what you're going to be doing is as you're cutting, you're pressing down, holding it firmly to the cutting board. You want to keep it in as a uniform cut patterns as possible, because this is going to help with the cutting of, or the cooking, making sure everything is cooking uniformly. And we're dicing this today. So we're just gonna cut it through like so in a few layers. And that way, when we start to cut it, it just all comes together. All right, and that's good enough as far as the onion goes. As far as how much we need, we only need about half of a yellow onion. I'm just gonna finish chopping on up the end of the onion. And you can, at this point, we're gonna get rid of this onion on our cutting board. And if you don't have a pot, now's the time to get one. We're gonna put a little oil, olive oil, about a tablespoon of olive oil in it. And we're not gonna quite saute it yet. You can start putting your stovetop on medium. I'm doing my olive oil right now. It's just slightly off camera. And I'm gonna start it on a slow simmer because we still need to dice up our garlic, which will be putting in shortly. So I'm just gonna put this in my pot. Next, we're gonna grab your garlic, and it calls for, I believe, a teaspoon, 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, and I'm going to show you how to mince that. And one little tip for getting the skins off the garlic is you can put your garlic clove down, take the flat edge of your knife and just smash it, and it's going to peel away easily from your garlic. Give that another little smash. Also helps with the cutting of the garlic afterwards, because we're going to mince it up. There you go. Now we're going to start our mincing. Always got to make sure you watch while you're chopping too. All right. Just a few more little cuts as we're mincing up. You just want to make it really small. All right. Some of you might be faster at mincing than I am. So then you just take your garlic, and we're going to also put that in the pot. And I'll let you guys see my pot, and I'm going to start putting on a medium-high heat. We are going to start sauteing the onions and garlic until they are golden. So just letting this warm up, getting the olive oil was already in the pot. We're just gonna let this saute for a little bit. All right. While that's sauteing, we'll start on the zucchinis in just a minute. And it's nice because you can do multiple, recipes at one time with all these different vegetables. And so we'll do the zucchinis in just a moment.
Paige, there's a question about showing what you're doing. So Leora, there is a way to switch to a different view. So she actually has two things going on. Can you explain Paige, how she can see both?
Yes. So there's two screens. One of them has a view of the chopping, and then one of them is just of me. So if you can go to the Punky Paige's iPhone, that is the other view.
So you have to switch to the gallery view, Leora, I think, to be able to see it. And if you're on your phone, maybe you can just scroll and you see another view of what she's doing. And also, Paige, I think if you make me a host, I can highlight your camera. Yes. Let me do that.
Oh, perfect. Let's see here. Let's make you a host. Okay, you are the host. Is that okay? Can everybody see now? This is, oh, perfect.
Can you see it now, Leora? I think now we highlight your cooking.
Okay, great. So what's great about cooking with tomatoes is they are full of antioxidants, and these are cancer-fighting antioxidants. And not only that, the tomatoes it's a great source of fiber, and so that's going to help out with, going to the bathroom, being regular. Sorry, somebody says also show. Okay, I think I just saw that. And then is there a hand being raised right now, Jamali? I think I see something. No, okay, sorry about that. I don't know what was going on with that part. Yeah, so full of fiber, going to keep you regular, and that's also the case for our zucchini. And if you are checking in on your sauteing now, you can see that it's starting to golden. I'm going to give you my view. Starting to, and it smells very good. We'll just give that a few more minutes. All right. So the next thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to put in the paprika. And so we're just gonna put that in with the sauteing onion and garlic. Anybody have theirs easily seen that we can take a look at theirs going on? I'll show you mine. I want to see if I can see anybody's. Here's mine. Here's my sauteing onion and garlic. And I put the paprika in there as well. So now it's time for us to add in our vegetable broth. And that was 1.5 cups of vegetable broth. Now we're going to put in our 6.5 pounds of ripe tomatoes. And these are going to be whole tomatoes. They're gonna boil, and then we will put them in a blender afterwards. Where we're gonna let them simmer, actually. They're gonna simmer for about 20 minutes. And then after that, we put them in an immersion blender. I'm just gonna put a little bit more. You can put a little more vegetable broth in mine. All right, so now we are ready to just let that sit. It's going to cook for about 20 minutes. And while that is cooking, we are going to work on our zucchini. So
Paige, you just add the tomatoes in there? Is that what you did? Just
add them whole. You can cut them up if you are looking to save on time, but you can put them whole in there and they're gonna cook.
Can you put your camera there to see how it looks?
Yeah. It's gonna start, mine isn't boiling yet, but it will get there and let it simmer.
So the tomatoes are not completely full with the broth, just a little bit on the bottom?
Yeah. And as it starts to simmer, they're gonna cook through.
Hey, Paige.
Yes.
Somehow I could hear you really well, and about 4 or 5 minutes ago, I can barely hear you. I have my volume all the way up. Is anybody else having that?
Let's make sure that my microphone is connected to the right one.
I can hear you well.
Okay.
Okay.
I can hear you well too.
Great. All right, so next we're gonna move on to the zucchinis while the tomato soup is cooking. So next, you're gonna wanna take your zucchinis, and again, make sure that they're nice and secure. You're gonna chop off the ends of them. And you're gonna cut them in quarters. Always putting the flat side down. like so. I have this little bowl. I'm just going to put them in for now.
So we have, Viora's also can't hear you very well. No, I can hear her.
I can try to talk louder. Can you hear me now when I talk louder?
Oh, she said, no, I can hear her fine. I'm sorry. She was saying she can hear you fine.
Okay. All right. We cut off the ends. We're going to continue to cut these in quarters. There's 4 zucchinis. Our last zucchini. And if you haven't, go ahead and start preheating your oven. You're going to start with your oven at 350, and we're going to cook our zucchini. And then we will broil them at the end for just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and start preheating my oven, and I'll be right back.
Viora, did you have a question? We can't hear you. It looks like you're talking, but we cannot hear you.
No, got it muted. I'm fine.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thanks.
So next, you're going to take your zucchinis. I have mine in a bowl because it's going to make it easier for me to drizzle the olive oil on it and to mix in the dry ingredients. And so if you haven't yet, go ahead and start. I like to put my dry ingredients when it's something like this where we're mixing and then we're just going to sprinkle it on. I like to mix them, or I pre-measure them out beforehand. So I did that today. So first you're going to take your zucchini and you're going to drizzle it with some olive oil. About a tablespoon. And I have my half a cup of Parmesan cheese, the grated garlic, and in here I have my dried oregano, my thyme, and my basil all together. So I'm just going to quickly mix these together, and then I will sprinkle them on top of my zucchini. And also this is salt and pepper to taste as well. So we're going to sprinkle this on our zucchini. You can actually, if you can put them on the pan beforehand, or you can sprinkle them in the bowl, whichever is less messy for you. I'm actually going to put mine on the pan first, and then I will sprinkle the topping on them. And if you need, you can always put a little extra olive oil on the pan. I'm okay with my pan not having olive oil on it, since it is, I put foil on it to protect it, so it'll be okay. So I'm gonna lay out my zucchinis. Drizzled in olive oil. And now that I have my mixture, I'm just gonna sprinkle that right on with the Parmesan. The best part is when it comes out and after you broil them, they've got a nice little golden color. So first we're gonna bake them, and after we bake them, we're gonna broil them. So that looks like it's enough. My pan can't hold all the zucchinis, but if your pan at home can, by all means, put them on one pan. Anybody have theirs to share? Anybody have their zucchinis?
I just started to cut mine, so I'm a little behind.
Oh, they're beautiful though. I love the yellow. Nice to see more colors in there. And these are like little treats. These you can have as a side dish, and you don't have to do Parmesan. You can also do, I've made a nut Parmesan with cashew. I ground up some cashews with some salt, nutritional yeast. I believe I put a little black pepper in there, and I substituted that instead of the Parmesan, and that worked just as good. So there's alternatives if you don't do dairy. So that's an option for those who, and you can find a recipe for a Parmesan alternative online, super easy. And so we're gonna let those cook in the oven for, I believe it's 20 minutes, 15. It's 15 minutes. We're gonna let those cook, and then we will broil them for another 2 to 3 minutes. Our tomatoes should be simmering right now. If yours aren't, you might need to turn it up. I can see mine. I'm just gonna mix them up a little bit to give a little even rotation with all the tomatoes. And I can already see that the ones that were on the bottom of the pot are already soft. So they definitely will all get cooked through. It's just a matter of rotating them down into the vegetable broth. So I'm just gonna rotate mine. If you have yours in a pot that isn't fully immersed, then go ahead and do that as well. And having these tomatoes in less vegetable broth, it's going to make it so it's a little thicker. So you could put a lot more vegetable broth in there, and it just would be a little more runny of a soup. So it kind of just depends really of what you're wanting to make out of the soup.
And Paige, I just got a air dryer. You know how you can also put the squash in there, right? To cook it?
Absolutely. I've actually never cooked with one of those, but I've seen people cook with them. Yeah, you can definitely do it that way too. I am today cooking in a kitchen that has all these beautiful appliances, but there's no electricity to them. So we made do with some microwave oven, and we've got our cooktop right here. So a little different, but you know, you make with what you got. So you can certainly cook with limited resources. And so this is a great way of being able to cook a bunch of vegetables, and maybe you're confined with space, but you can still make it happen. So that's a great option for somebody who might be in a smaller space. So we are actually going to take about a 10-minute break. And at this point, you can clean up. And we're just going to watch our tomatoes, make sure we're rotating them in the sauce. And other than that, it's pretty much a waiting game. And then we'll come back in a little bit. We can chop up our garnishes for those who have garnishes. If you don't have a garnish, that's totally fine. That's optional. And I personally don't cook with a lot of salt. So by all means, if you're wanting to put more salt in the soup, you can certainly do that. If you want to top off your zucchini with some more salt and pepper, by all means do that. I find that Parmesan is a little saltier. So for me, I don't add the extra salt. So we're just going to take a little bit of a 10-minute break and we will come back. So just keep an eye on your tomatoes and rotating them. And yeah, we'll come back. All right. Just gonna get this camera going. Are we back? I hope your guys' tomato soup smells as good as mine. I'm gonna show you guys what's happening over here. So it's definitely cooked in quite a lot. The tomatoes have cooked down. They still are looking like they need a little more time. So we're gonna just let them sit. If yours are a lot more mushy than mine, you're probably good to go, and you can put yours in your blender, but mine definitely need a little more time. So I'm just gonna let these sit and cook for maybe another 5 more minutes. Let's get this one. So in the meantime, I'm going to chop up my garnish, which I'm going to be doing fresh basil. So if you don't have any garnish, no big deal. And you can just cut it like so. We're just getting, it's just for a little taste and the looks on top of it.
So here's mine looking beautiful.
Oh yeah, that's looking great.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty
Thanks.
happy with that.
Yeah, it's looking so good. You
Yeah,
might not even need a blender. Although
I did blend it.
Yeah, and oh, you already blended. Oh,
I
great.
did, but I only put about 3/4 of it in the blender because it wouldn't fit.
Yeah.
So then I took a potato smasher with the stuff at the bottom, and so it's kind of chunky-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine just
And then
needs a little more time.
We're gonna toast some cheese bread in the oven.
Yeah, I do have a baguette as well. So for those of you who are needing some extra carbs on the side, I also am doing a little bread. And I'm just gonna go take a quick look at the zucchini, make sure that it's coming along. Still definitely needs some more time. And how's anybody else want to share their tomato soup?
I'm actually not making tomato soup, and I think the other ones are all watching this time. So it's just you
Okay.
and Stephanie making tomato soup.
Awesome. Well, and so part of the blending, it's gonna smooth out the soup. The onions are, because right now, if you can see that we've got our chunks going on, we've got their skin, and so once we put that in the blender, it's gonna all smooth out. And we did talk about the tomatoes. The great thing about the zucchinis, they give you 40% of the RDI, the recommended daily intake of vitamin A. So they've got a lot of that. Another antioxidant, helps with fighting cancer. They're loaded with B6. They're going to help with your healthy cells. And then they've got folate and potassium in them as well. So another good source of potassium. And I think my soup is almost ready to go into the blender. It's just a little trickier when you are going into the blender. I'm going to be using this little measuring cup to scoop it and then pour it in. You just have to be very careful because the soup is very hot. And let it cook for a little more time. So Jamali, you're doing the zucchinis. How are your zucchinis going?
It's good. I'm actually, let me switch. Hold on.
they're in there, and I made the bread and I actually had some vegetarian also parmesan. I haven't
Yeah.
used it much, and then yeah, so we'll see.
Did you make your vegetarian parmesan or did you buy it?
Yeah, it was in the refrigerator for a while, so it smells okay. I
Mm,
haven't used the parmesan very much, but I saw a recipe and I made it, so it's been there.
yeah. I know I have I don't normally eat cheese, and so at home I have my homemade cashew parmesan, and it tastes really good. But today I used real parmesan,
Yeah.
which I have tried it with the real parmesan, and it's phenomenal.
Well,
And looks like my soup is actually ready to go. So I am going to turn off the boiler. And I'm not sure if I can actually get the view of me scooping and putting it into the blender, but I'm going to be scooping it and putting it into the blender. Okay. Like I said, when you're doing this, you want to be extra careful because it's very hot. So you see I've got a scoop of the tomatoes. I'm just gonna carefully dump this into the blender, scoops at a time. Make sure it doesn't splash around. It can be a little messy when you are blending up. And like what Stephanie did, she had to do it in separate blending and mushing. That frequently does happen when you are blending soups, because you tend to not have enough space in the blender. So I'm just gonna blend. It might be a little loud. And I'm blending until, let's see if I can actually get this over there.
Have you ever tried it with the hand blender? Does that work just as well?
You know, I have not tried that. There we go. Sorry, it's really loud, and I'm just blending it till it's smooth. I'm gonna keep going. That looks like it's mostly smooth. We'll give it one more time. All right, that looks good. I'm gonna pour this in a pot and then do the remaining. I still have some more in there and blend the rest. So don't mind me, I'm gonna quickly put this in another pot. And if you can fit it all in one take, by all means do that, but I'm limited on space here. So I've got half of it in this pot right here. And we will mix them all together again since one has more juice than the other. Right. We are almost out of time, but we'll keep going until we finish. I'm gonna blend again. And I'm gonna now put this back into my larger pot. Just gonna pour it back in.
Hey, Paige. How long am I cooking the soup for until it's done?
I believe it was 20 minutes in the soup, and then it should be done in, when you're cooking the actual tomato.
Because my husband is already sampling it in spoonfuls of like eating it.
Your soup is probably done. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Once you blend it at that point, it's good to go. It's just
Yeah,
a
and then
salt.
we went ahead and
Those look incredible.
with a little cheddar and parmesan
Yeah,
and everything
that,
spice.
yeah, you can dip those in your soup. But yeah, once you blend it, it's actually done.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's salt and pepper to taste, and you can reheat it. Sometimes there's heat lost while you're blending. My soup is very hot still, so I'm not going to need to reheat my soup. So it kind of just depends as you're blending. Did you lose some heat? You can reheat it, and then it will be salt and pepper to taste. I'm going to take a quick look at the zucchini, check out my zucchini, make sure it's okay. And it's looking pretty good.
I'm scooping it in the bowls.
The zucchini looks good. I just put it to broil, and it's going to broil for 2 to 3 minutes, and it should be done. And then it's the same with our soup. It should be done now too. I'm going to pour the remaining soup into my pot, and I'm going to scoop that into my bowl. That is going to be ready to go, and I will plate my zucchini in about 2 minutes. So if you've got your zucchini almost done, I'd love to see that. And I'll show you my giant pot of tomato soup, which I will add some pepper to it because I don't have pepper. And then I will garnish on my bowl, and I'll show you guys that. I'm gonna add some pepper, fresh ground pepper onto it. Good. I'll show you. Mix this in. And you know, you could always make this a little thicker if you wanted more tomatoes in there. It will just take a little longer. So those are options as well. So let me go check on the zucchinis. They're starting to brown. They're not quite there yet, but they're really close. I'm going to grab a bowl and a plate.
So my husband is starving, and I just put him together a bowl, and I'm going to bring it to the table. I just want to show you guys how beautiful it looks.
Yes, I'd like to see that. Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
That was pretty
done.
exciting. Thank you so much,
Well,
Paige.
oh yeah, you guys go
Yeah.
and enjoy. Thank you
Great
for
job,
joining
Stephanie.
me. Bon appetit. That looks beautiful. And I am just scooping up my soup. I'm going to take a look at the zucchini because it should be done in just a second. Yep, it is done. Just gonna plate this up. They should be nice and crisp from the broiler. And you can salt this like I said before, but let me just give you a quick look-see at the salt or the zucchini and tomato soup. Can you see? Not sure.
We can see it.
Okay. Oh, there
Can
we
everybody
go.
see it?
I'll give it a taste test and let you know how it is. Jamali, do you have your zucchini?
No, I don't know. Sonia, you have a air fryer. It says that I need to freeze my zucchini and then put it in the air fryer. Is that how it works?
You freeze it first? I've honestly never done an air fryer before.
I have a little book and I never used it before neither. So I was like, oh, I don't know how to use this.
Yeah. We're gonna try the soup.
Sorry, Jamali, did you ask me something?
Yeah, with the air fryer, I was thinking to use it for the zucchini, but the recipe that comes with the air fryer says to freeze my zucchini and then put it in the air fryer. Do you do that?
I've never tried that, but I can try it. I've never tried that.
I have a book
Friend.
that came with the air fryer.
I do that with the tofu.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that all the time with the tofu. I freeze it first so that I can squeeze the water out and it becomes crispier. But
Oh,
That's
Yeah.
a good tip. I've never done that before.
oh yeah, for tofu, in fact, we're having it tonight.
Yeah.
So we do that every week. But yeah, if you freeze your tofu first and then thaw it out, you can squeeze the water out and then we toss it with olive oil and garlic powder and salt and then put it in the air fryer, put parchment paper down and that helps too.
Also, yeah, that reminds me, the parchment paper, it's more ideal for the zucchini. So if you have parchment paper, by all means, I forgot to mention that, use that over foil. It's going to help out a lot.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for joining. I do have a few announcements. July 23rd is the Salsa Gardens class, I believe, and that's at 10 a.m. And then on July 30th at 11 a.m., there is another event, and you can look both of those up on Facebook on the Lake County Tribal Health Community Garden Facebook page. So if you need any more extra information on that, you can go on that. And Jamali, do you have any announcements?
no. When is your next class, Paige? When are you doing it in your cook-along?
So far, we are planning on doing the cook-alongs every second Friday of the month. But we also want to hear back from you guys if there is a better time, a better day. I do have, and I'm going to add it into the conversation, a link to a survey, if you guys wouldn't mind taking that. Let me just add it to the conversation. Okay, let's see here.
Do you guys have a preference of what you like to cook? Any of the vegetables that you're getting on your garden or growing or in the garden box? So I know we're happy to hear your input on that as well.
Yeah, I know this week was a lot of summer squash and rosemary. Isn't that right, Sonia?
Oh, whoops. Yes. Sorry. I'm busy making my dinner.
Oh,
yeah,
no worries.
squash and rosemary. So.
See, I think I only have the QR code. Let's see if I can put that in there. Might not let me put the QR code in there. Perhaps I can
Let me
share the.
see. Yeah, let me see if I can get it for you.
Yeah, I can also share my screen of the QR code, and everybody can scan it with their camera phone. So that's one option, is if you take your phone, but some of you are probably on your phone, so that will be a little difficult to scan it. We'll see if Jamali can.
Can we take a screenshot of it and do it later? Does that work?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's see if we can even get it. I might be able to get a link.
Take a screenshot.
How are you gonna do that with your phone?
Yeah, I can put the link on the chat. There is a link on the chat for the Survey Monkey.
Oh, perfect. Let me stop sharing this.
Do you guys see that on the chat? If you click on that, hopefully it will take you to Survey Monkey, and it won't take very long to complete the survey. It's just, oh, I think I have the wrong survey. Is that right?
I'll check it out and see if it is.
Yeah, I think this is a registration survey.
It
I'm
is.
sorry.
Yeah, I've already
Let me-
taken.
Okay, I apologize. Let me get the right survey in there.
Okay.
This zucchini could be a side dish for literally anything, and it also can be just a snack. It is one of my favorite things to eat. So you should try it.
That is great. I did put another survey link now. If you look at there, it's the second one with the ending of 33 is the correct survey.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for coming. We will see you on, hopefully it'll be next month, second Friday, but it might be on another date. We'll keep you posted. But if not, we'll see you next Friday on the 2nd of August, the second Friday of August. So thank you guys for being here today.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Paige. Good job. Enjoy your time there. Bye.